As you saw there in our intro, we do have a special guest. This is another episode of Fish Stripes Live. Here today, we have the usual suspects. We have Kevin, Eli, Noah. We have Isaac Azut, who's coming in and out, who'll be on the show, and our special guest, NFL running back, all-time leading rusher, and the best first pitch in Marlins history, Mr. Duke Johnson. Duke, welcome to the show.
I appreciate you. Appreciate y'all for having me.
This has been something I've been wanting to do for a long time. We've seen you in some of our streams and some of when we do the state of the fish. Just tell us a little bit how you got into the Marlins and just how you're seeing and how you got into this fandom.
For me, I'm born and raised in Miami, so for me, I'm Miami everything, minus the Dolphins as a fan. Maybe rejoin that alliance once I retire. But until then, I'm everything Miami. So Dolphins, Heat, Hurricanes, whatever that is, and whatever else we have. But I've been a fan for I'm gonna say a fan for a year, but I've really been locked in and paying attention this most recent year to the Marlins and keeping track. So this offseason has been a very, very interesting first one that I really paid attention to. So,
yeah. Before going into the Marlins, I wanted to go ahead and just talk a little bit of football while we have you here, as you just finished up your 8th season in the NFL with the Buffalo Bills. Describe it how now being in your 8th year in the NFL, reaching 10 years, and just how do you describe just that feeling being able to put on those pads for 8 years now?
Like an old man. Oh man, it's enjoyable. I say that because not too many people have the opportunity to make it and last as long as I have. But for me, it's fun, especially when you know why you're doing it. So I have my why and why I do it, and as long as I remind myself of that, it will always be enjoyable to me.
Yeah, and with that, just is there anything maybe you learned from this experience now in the NFL in 2022? Maybe you learned differently when you were a rookie or anything like that. Maybe you learned something new.
The thing I would say I learned this year is that the sun will eventually come out.
All
I
right.
think this year was probably my toughest year I had to deal with being in the NFL. And every day wasn't a great one, but remind myself that the sun will come back out. So,
Yeah. As we see here, we're looking at some of your stats, some of your best moments in the NFL. You just came from the Buffalo Bills franchise, and there is also another running back there who was locally to Miami, played in Florida Atlantic, Devin Singletary. Just how was it playing along with someone teaching the young running back, someone locally, someone from down south here in Miami? Just how was that? I'm pretty sure maybe he looked up to you, wanting to get all the plans, just learning the position.
no, it was actually hilarious because it was myself from Miami, James Cook from Miami, Singletary from Miami, and Zach Moss all was from Miami.
Wow.
So it was four of us all from Miami in that room, and I just happened to be the older one of us all. So they all kind of grew up watching me and knowing what I can do. So I think they all kind of leaned on me just to kind of give them some kind of veteran advice uh, about things on and off the field. So I think it was dope. It was actually fun. I've never had that many guys in the same room from the same area. So it was definitely a different experience, but it was fun. It's a fun one.
Duke, you
Yeah.
mentioned Miami. How was your experience with the Hurricanes like? I think Daniel mentioned it, but you were the all-time leading rusher there. So how was that experience as being one of the most remembered Hurricanes of all time?
It was it was cool. It was cool. It was good for me personally, I guess you can say, because of the things I was able to accomplish. But I think as a team while I was there, we sucked. I think that's the hardest part. Is I did well at times and over 3-year period I did well, but as a team we sucked, and I think that was the most frustrating thing was, we had talent, we had a lot of guys that went on to the NFL to play for at least 3-4 years, and it sucked. But we had fun. We went out there, we played, we gave it all, but yeah, it was it was bad team ball.
What was draft day like for you?
Yeah, that was gonna be my later on next question. Draft day.
Draft day was actually fun. I kind of got away from Miami and went to Point St. Lucie where my grandma lived, and we just had a draft party with some of my close friends and family. And it was chill. I think just being there waiting was the most difficult part of just the waiting game. But knowing that my name was going to get called eventually, it was fine. And when it did, never imagined Cleveland. I think Cleveland was the last team on my list that I would picture going to.
What was the team that you thought you were gonna end up being?
But the Dolphins were gonna pick you up.
The Dolphins I actually spoke to the Dolphins the night before the draft, and the Dolphins told me that if I was there in the second round, they was going to take me.
Oh, cool. Well, you
And
did
they
get
did
your
not. And they
yeah,
did not.
but you did get your opportunity eventually in 2021. I think it was like a mid-season signing there, and you basically carried the offense at some points in games. How was that being able to put on the hometown jersey and being able to play with the Dolphins? And you had some really big games. I remember the New York one. I believe also I think it was a Sunday night against New Orleans. You also had a pretty good game there.
I will honestly say that's probably was the most fun that I had playing a game in a while. Being in Miami, being at the stadium I played my college football at, playing for my hometown team. I think it was the most fun I've really had in a while. And to make it better, I played well and we won the game. Well, most of the games that I played, we won them. So
Yeah.
it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing about that season, Duke, is being teammates with Tua, and that was his second year in the league. He took a decent step forward, but now this year, 2022, with you on an opposing team, this is when he made the leap into being kind of the guy for Miami. I'm wondering did you see that coming, this kind of leap from him based on what you got to know from him in 2021?
Yeah, I think when Tua got drafted, everyone expected him to be the guy he is now. Like they wanted that from day one, but it don't always work like that. Like everyone develops and get better on their own time. And I think Coach McDaniels coming in and kind of working with Tua was something Tua needed. Just someone that believes in him and is kind of on his side. But I definitely knew Tua had it in him, especially with the guys around him, because they believed in him. Like as players, the players believed in him. He just needed, I guess, another year, and look at him now.
Maybe it's too early to ask, but if the Dolphins came back and they told you, we need a running back, would there be a chance, maybe a reunion? You would be open to that?
Oh, for sure.
All right.
I'm always open to playing for the home team. Like, why not? Right? It's my home, so I'm definitely always open to playing here.
I hope the Dolphins are watching.
As you saw earlier, we had a Bills fan in here. I got to talk a little bit about the Bills. And going to practice every day, I can imagine Josh Allen there throwing the ball, handing it off. Just how is it being in with a guy like that who, any minute can go ahead and throw that ball to the other side of the facility?
Josh Allen definitely has a special gift. Like he's one of the guys that, how you say, kind of, it's hard to say once in a generation because you have, in this generation, you have him, you have Mahomes, like you have guys that can do it, but it's different for him, right? It's almost incredible to see in person, because the game doesn't do it justice. Like you see games, you see highlights. I don't think it does it justice when you see it every day in practice. So he has a gift that you can't teach.
Yeah, and you were talking about UM guys and Miami guys there at Buffalo. you had another guy at the other end on the defensive line, Gregory Rousseau, who probably you had to go in there as you're shaking your head. How was that? Did he hit you a few times? Was he going a little rough there?
No, Russo is a vet. That's a young guy. Like he know how to practice. He know how to practice. He know how to take care of his guys. But Russo is a big kid. Like we have any of y'all seen him in person?
I
Probably
think I've
don't.
seen him a couple times. Yeah, he's
Like he's a
big.
big kid. And it's funny because he's so soft spoken. He's so nice. But he's a big kid. And I think he's gonna be a very good player, especially with them bringing in Vaughn to kind of help him and kind of get him going and just be that veteran leadership that he needs.
That was a steal in the draft.
Yeah. And with that there in the Bills, the last baby question I would ask football wise is just the culture in Buffalo. Really big expectations, and there was a lot of, I don't want to say just drama or just everything that happened with Buffalo, and we saw with DeMar Hamlin and everything. Just how was the culture like in the team just throughout the season and playing in that? I can imagine a really special group of guys.
I think if there wasn't a culture, there wasn't like you said, a special group of guys, that team would have died a long time ago. Like when we came in for OTAs, there was a shooting at a store in Buffalo. I'm talking about maybe a month of being up there, and kind of the team had to bring the city together. So we had to go out there and be a part of it and kind of show them we all in it together, right? Then we go, I want to say the second, third week of the season, Micah Hyde hurt his neck.
Oh,
And at some point, like he was afraid because he hurt his neck. Then I think it was Dane. Then Dane also had to get transported for a neck injury during the game. We had two blizzards, a snowstorm, DeMar. Like this season was crazy. Like like they say, football is 100% injury rate, and it is. But the thing this team went through this year was ridiculous, and we never wavered. Like they never wavered. Still came to practice. Still came to work. The DeMar situation was 1 in a million, but it was handled correctly. Like they saved his life. We came back to practice. We came back to work, and everyone was ready to just get back to work slowly but surely. Coach McDermott and the organization did a great job too, just allowing everyone to take their time and just kind of get back into it at your own time, at your own pace. But this year has been insane. This is my 8th year, and I've never seen anything like it.
So I actually want to follow up on that. How hard is it for you, and how difficult is it to see something like that happen and try and get yourself back focused on the game and get yourself back into the mindset of, okay, I'm going to go back out on the field and do this when seeing what just happened to a teammate?
So I think if you watch the game, I want to say Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark made the perfect point as a player because he was a former player, of course. He said normally, when someone get kind of transported and put on a stretcher, they are able to give a thumbs up, right? And that thumbs up let everyone know, like, oh, he's okay, he's fine, he's all right. But since this wasn't one of those moments, I don't think no one really was mentally ready to play. If they had to play, I'm pretty sure they could have, but mentally, you can't. Like something like this, you couldn't really get yourself ready to play.
Yeah, I remember that. And I guess just before we move on to baseball, I wanted to quickly ask you, I know we've been seeing this controversy with the turf field and the natural grass. I just want to get your thoughts on which one you prefer to play on more, and just that. Which one's better for you, and which one do you think is better for the players?
One thought, luckily, I've been able to not really have any major injuries. But if I had to pick now which one I think is best, grass.
Yeah.
Grass 100%. And it's not even close because the numbers turf compared to grass of injuries, concussions, like it's not even close. So now you wait for the decision to make the NFL to make a decision on turf or grass, but grass is definitely better.
Yeah. And with that, I think now it's the perfect time to talk a little baseball, talk a little bit while we're all here, get into that. And I think the first question I have, probably the most important one, Eli showed a clip of your probably your biggest baseball highlight there in 2015. Walk us through that of throwing a first pitch. Were you nervous? Did you not want to mess up? Were you practicing a little? Just how was that?
So to be fair, I've actually played baseball. Baseball is actually my first love. That's my first sport I've ever played. So I could have gave a little bit more. Just was more safe than anything. I couldn't be out here just throwing the ball anywhere. See the form? Nice little.
You still have that jersey?
Yeah.
What I've noticed is the amount of photographers standing between you and the plate.
Yeah, see, it was just bad from the start. I really couldn't get into it because I didn't want to hit anybody with the ball.
Do you still have that jersey there?
Yes.
Ooh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. And going from that and going in now to more the modern players in 2022. Just how do you feel like we talked a little bit before how you just really getting into the Marlins now this season, getting into Marlins Twitter. Just give me your thoughts, what you saw from last season as the Marlins, and maybe what you're hoping for.
Okay, so are we referring to Marlins Twitter or are we referring to Marlins team?
Let's do the team first. Let's do the team.
The team. Okay, I'm down for the team. Last year I saw great pitching. I enjoyed the pitching. It's a couple of guys I'm high on that I hope can kind of have a better year. I would say Dela Cruz.
Oh no!
Oh no! You just woke up the biggest Brian De La Cruz fan
go.
right here.
You are now my favorite.
I like Dela Cruz. He's one of the guys that I have hope for. Like I have hope for. Not a lot of guys. I'm not gonna say a lot of guys. I'm not gonna say a lot of guys. I have hope for some guys. Dela Cruz being one of them. I love our minor league pitching in Dax and what's the other one? Dax 14.
Dax.
No, not Yuri. No, the other one.
Yuri?
The two lefties. No, the other lefty.
Dax Fulton. There was one that was injured last year named Jake Eater. He's a lefty.
Jake Eater, okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Is the other
We
one
spoke to him recently on a we spoke to him recently on a podcast. So
yeah,
great guy.
So I'm hoping for those. Like everyone know Yuri Perez. Like I'm not gonna come here and say the best prospect we have.
I want to stop you right there. Not everybody follows prospects that follows the Marlins. I had no idea that you're that deep into this already. That you're actually looking at the minor leagues and the next level. That's a really that's great to hear.
You can welcome on the staff anytime if you want.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. So those are some of the guys I'm looking forward to, which Dela Cruz will probably being the first, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Like my favorite pitcher outside of Sandy, I like Jesus Luzardo.
I love it. That's a great pick.
Luzardo is my guy. I think Eddie is very good. I'm afraid to trade Eddie, but I keep hearing that we trying. Yeah. What's y'all take on trading Eddie?
Our take.
I mean,
at this point, when you
heading into this winter, they were open for business. Basically, all the pitchers except for Sandy. It was whoever could bring back the right deal, and they said ultimately they went with the idea that Pablo, he's closest to free agency. He's had his repeated injuries, unfortunately, except for last year. Last year was good, but the years before, he kept dealing with this runs the wall with his shoulder, and it seems like they're going to hold on to everybody else right now that they found a match for Pablo, sending him to Minnesota. I hope they do.
Look, great. Now that brings me to my next question. I know y'all supposed to be doing the interviews, but
go for it, dude. This is amazing.
Sixto.
Oh.
So
hey, he been posting pictures. Got a little training videos. What?
So my take on Sixto, and for a lot of the last 2 years, he's been a non-factor in my opinion.
Yeah.
I need to see him throw in a game. I don't care if it's a minor league, independent. I need to see him throw in a game before I say anything. Until he throws in a game, he's a non-factor in my opinion.
The expectation for him is to start in spring training.
Mhm.
Just from the injury he had, the rehab. He looks good. He looks good in shape in terms of, he looks a lot skinnier than before. So my hopes have risen just a little bit, Duke. That's how I'll say it.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, would y'all want him back a starter or more of a bullpen role? Because
I think
Whichever
his
one
days as a
keeps him
starter-
healthy, and whichever one keeps him healthy and pitching well.
Yeah, I would say closer, because if you put him at starter, you're giving him more innings and more of a chance for his arm to
re-injury. Yep.
yeah, re-injury. When you're closer and you're there, you have him for maybe an inning, maybe inning and a half, 2 innings, maybe at most, and there you're going to get the best of Sixto. And Sixto at the top speed, his fastball, everything. I think it's really made for a closer type role. Sixto can handle high situations. We saw that in the playoffs, so he could do that in a regular game for the Marlins. I think Sixto is more off to closer. I know Eli might have different in there for maybe Sixto or maybe his thoughts on the whole Sixto situation.
It's complicated because he's missed not just 1 year, he's missed back-to-back whole years. And you just look at the history. Guys that do that, they're always limited in their workload their first year back. So I think for this year, you guys might be right. That is the bullpen where you want him. But what made him, he was the number 1 prospect in the organization just a few years ago before the injury. There's a reason why he was starting important games during the one recent year where they made the playoffs. That's because he checks all the boxes you want from a starter. Like he really has that amazing control in that deep pitch mix, and he's just a much smarter pitcher than he gets credit for. So it's like it's a wrestling match a little bit because if he is back to what he used to be as a starter, that's like where he's the most valuable piece of the team. At the same time, they have a really deep rotation as it is right now, so they don't need to rush him into that role. And what's weird is that when he was pitching so well as a prospect, he was fat. He was never in good shape back then, and yet he was still like really good at what he does. And now all of a sudden he's trimmed down. But that wasn't the issue in the first place. The issue, it all goes back to the shoulder and whether or not his stuff is still the same that it was before. So to me, it's a big question mark. Thankfully there's like some progress from last year. But it's not that far removed from having his most recent shoulder surgery. It was like back-to-back procedures that he had there to try to clean it out, get it right. So I have no idea what to expect, but it's a lot of fun because he is that one guy that with fans, they have this – they're obsessed with him whenever they see anything from him. Like, you don't think about him for a few months at a time, and then he pops up like throwing a bullpen session and people get excited. He has that effect on people. And we're going to be following it as best as we can, to try to get the real situation. All we see is what he's putting out there, but we're not really hearing much from the team about their expectations. They're kind of laying low. They don't want to set high expectations right now.
Realistically, how many Grapefruit League appearances do you think we see from Sixto? Right.
1. I will be optimistic. I'll go 1.
Maybe 1.
Who has more?
It's either 0 or like
who has
3.
more Grapefruit League appearances? Dax Fulton or Sixto Sanchez?
Dax.
Oh, Dax. Dax is gonna throw heat.
Dax is gonna get a chance. I mean, look at the baseball classic. The guys that are gonna participate in. So those guys are gonna get some pretty good looks.
I totally forgot that. Yeah, half the roster is gonna be gone for the WBC.
Let me ask Isaac. Duke was mentioning before, he was asking us if we would trade Eddie Cabrera, and if we would do that, or if you weren't here for that. I want to get your opinion on your thoughts of potentially a trade for Eddie Cabrera and what a package might look like.
Mr. Duke wants to trade Eddie Cabrera. Oh, you don't?
No. He's saying,
would we?
Yeah, could.
Yeah, would we?
I think of the young guys that they have between Trevor, Edward, and the other prospects that we haven't mentioned, in Dax and Eater. I think Edward would be the guy to move. He has some big league experience, so we can help a myriad of teams, whether they're competing or they're a team like Pittsburgh Pirates. So he could be the headliner for almost any team in Major League Baseball. That's what would make him attractive as a trade piece. But personally, I think he's got as much upside as anyone in the system other than Sandy Alcantara and Yuri maybe. But I think it would be it'd be difficult to move him considering you already moved Pablo. And yeah, like Eli mentioned, the rotation is pretty deep as is, but you're one injury and one Trevor Rogers second year being bad again from not being so strong in the rotation. So as of right now, I think the offense is fine. But I think if you're in it in June or July, you definitely got to consider making that trade for sure. Because there's times where they thought he was the best guy in the whole organization, Edward Cabrera.
Yeah.
Just got to stay healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of another trade, I think another one I want to hear your opinion, Duke, on is the Pablo Lopez trade with Luis Arias, because that really blew up Marlins Twitter and everything there. This is a trade that the Marlins fans were craving for to get an offensive guy, and Pablo was in the center of trade talks for about a year now. Just what were your thoughts on that, trading Pablo, trading an arm?
I think, like y'all mentioned, we have a lot of them. It's just depending on, like you said, who brings back the most value. I think I looked at too many mock trades because once I seen the trade, I was so confused because nothing made sense at that point. Because everything I was seeing was, pitching outweighs hitting. So you give up more hitting to get pitching, not vice versa, right? Okay. So when we made the trade, I was kind of confused because we got a guy, right, batting champ, but we gave up 30, right?
Yeah.
So I was kind of confused. Wasn't really sure how how they value, because now, okay, so a lot of people were saying that we needed bats, right? So we needed bats, so we had to do what we had to do to get bats. But I feel like they also needed pitching, so they should do what they have to do to get pitching. It shouldn't be us just doing what we have to do because we need it. They also need something, and that's why I was kind of confused on, did we give up too much?
What made this complicated is that usually when these deals happen, it's not veteran major leaguer for veteran major leaguer. It's usually major leaguer for prospects. Like the Twins, they were leading their division for most of the last year. They collapsed at the end of the year, but otherwise they saw themselves as a playoff team. They see themselves as a playoff team moving forward. So for them, like it was really tough for them to give away Arias, somebody that was a big piece of the major league team. It had to be this unique situation where they I don't know if you saw, they re-signed Carlos Correa to stay with their team, and that had like a ripple effect on the roster. All of a sudden, they are stacked in the infield, and because of that, they gave them some flexibility where even though they traded this guy coming off a great year, they feel like they have the next man up on their infield is going to give them the same hitting, and then they get Pablo in exchange. But otherwise, like the Marlins were just in a bad situation because everybody knows that they were desperate for hitting. And then we reached a stage of the offseason where free agency had kind of run dry. So they weren't going to get anybody like this guy in free agency that they were willing to pay for. So they just didn't have that many options. And that's kind of why I wasn't a fan of the deal as it came together. It makes sense, but they gave up, as you said, they just gave up extra pieces on top of what they should have in addition to Pablo. And it means that, they need to take more steps to be a playoff team, and now they're running out of ways to take those steps forward. If they deal their prospect depth, that's less that they could use in the future. So that was my issue. That was, I think, some other people's issues. Is like, it's not with this deal itself that was a problem, but where do they go from here to actually make this a good team? Because it's been so long since they've had a good contender team.
Because in a perfect world, I think the Marlins go out and sign Brandon Nimmo, and you don't have to give up these guys, and you go into next season with the rotation that you had with Pablo Lopez, and the other teams know that they can't afford guys, so they sort of have all the leverage in these trade negotiations, which make it really tough because I'm sure Duke, this team is financially challenged at the moment, so it'll be tough for them to have any leverage in trades because they know that's the only way they're going to get them is get other players because they have no choice.
And I'm guessing y'all don't see us being financial challenge changing anytime soon.
I think if the team does really, really well eventually, I'm not saying they will this year, but if they do well eventually, that's more revenue. They host playoff games. That's a lot of revenue there. So that's the only way I see anything changing a little bit. But to me, I don't see that changing in the future.
Yeah, well, I wasn't expecting to talk about this, but the story that came out in recent days, that's kind of a worry for them, is that, as you know, with baseball, all these teams have deals with local broadcast networks instead of national. And this big company, Bally Sports, that handles half of the regional sports networks in the U.S., their parent company is filing for bankruptcy. Their whole model is just blowing up all of a sudden. This is a team like the Marlins, as you know, the stands are empty. A lot of their money comes from local TV. And now all of a sudden, this company that for many years has been controlling the way that each of these markets see their local teams, like their future is like up in the air all of a sudden, just because people are cutting the cord on their cable and they're watching games other ways. And that affects the Marlins because they just signed a new deal. They've been waiting years to get like a decent value on their local TV deal. They get $40-45 million every single year just to broadcast their TV deals. And now it's not clear what's going to happen to that. That contract, it could just go away because all of a sudden this network that was on the hook for that money, they screwed up. They screwed up and they didn't see the way the business was going. So that affects a lot of teams, but the Marlins included in that.
Yeah.
Will they be on YouTube TV or Fubo, for example? Because that would
YouTube TV dropped MLB.
I know they dropped MLB Network and they dropped the Bally partners a long time ago. So where are people going to be able to watch the Miami Marlins besides? Because no one has cable anymore, like you said. So where do they watch?
I think they have some games on Peacock and
the Miami Heat are also on Bally.
They have the direct-to-consumer thing where you could Bally Sports Plus.
Right, but who pays for that bullshit?
And also MLB.TV.
Like, I'm not paying for that.
But
there is, I don't think, at the end of the day, I think they're going to like figure this out and change everything and find it in a way that makes more sense because the system itself is kind of screwed up as it was before. I'm just saying that leads to some uncertainty because that was a big piece of the pie. Like, to their credit, they're spending more money on this team this upcoming season than they have since Sherman took over. It's the highest it's been since like 2017.
Yep.
Just one thing about the regional sports network thing. When they're working very hard to get rid of the regional blackouts, the local blackouts. If they get rid of those, then MLB.TV becomes a viable option.
Right.
Oh, 100%.
Right now, with the local blackouts, it's not a viable option. Like, you have a VPN.
That too.
That's wrong by Romeo. All you have to do is just follow my tweets during the game, and you'll
notifications on for Fish Stripes and everyone in here, and we got you covered.
I would not recommend turning notifications on for my Twitter account. I do not recommend it.
Just look at the tweet.
And I think one thing we mentioned earlier is just the offense of the Marlins compared to the pitching. I believe we were talking about this earlier, or even before the stream, how the offense is really lacking, and then you had just elite pitching from the Marlins. Duke, I would love to hear your thoughts on maybe how can the Marlins offense? How do you see it happening this season? Hopefully, Jazz being full there for a full season. Do you have any confidence in the Marlins offense?
Yes, I'm always say yes because I want them to do well, so I'm always speak it into existence. Hopefully, it happens. But I was going to really ask y'all: I feel like that I was told there's no such thing as bad questions, but I feel like this is a bad question. Does coaching matters? Like,
yes.
Does a good batting coach? Like, when we assembled our staff, do you think we assembled a good enough staff to take those steps to become better? Because our one thing is we can't develop bats. But now we got a whole new staff, and I'm wondering maybe can we now? Because we see Coach Mel and what he's able to do with the pitching and how Luzardo was struggling, and they brought him in and kind of worked with Mel, and now he's back to what everyone thought he would be. Do we have a coach, or do we believe there's a coach that's on this staff that can be kind of, that kind of untapped potential for the guys?
So my opinion on this is that I think you need the players first. I think the coaches make very little difference, if any, but there are many situations, and maybe that guy they brought in from LA will be that difference maker, but maybe there are examples of one hitting coach really turning a player around. And I do believe that they brought in the best guys capable of doing that with certain players, like the outfield prospects they have, like Blade and Burdick and those younger guys. I think they brought in the right guys for that job because they need to get all they can get out of their offensive players. And yeah, sometimes they make it. Most of the time, it doesn't make a difference, in my opinion. But who knows? Maybe this year will be one of those examples.
Yeah,
you bring in someone like Brant Brown, who
Right.
you could credit a little bit for Cody Bellinger's MVP season, and I believe he was also the Rookie of the Year at one point. So you bring in someone like Brant Brown. Supposedly, this guy has just been amazing. They've done these voluntary workouts at the stadium, and it seems like he's just changed the philosophy of how these guys are going to be hitting. That's what I think I saw that on the Miami Herald, one of the Miami Herald articles a bit ago from Craig and Barry Jackson. So if the hype that they're bringing up in these articles is true, and this is going to look like a different offense, in my opinion, in 2023.
So, but with my take on it is that although they couldn't develop hitting, they just went out and got some hitters and that are already developed, like Luis Arias and Gene Segura, more contact oriented. They're changing their instead of trying to get a bunch of power hitters to hit in a pitcher's ballpark, they finally went where I thought they should have gone originally for contact hitters, put the ball in play, create chaos on the bases, have John Birdie just running circles around everybody. And I think it'll be a much more fun team to watch this year, offensively.
Yeah, I will say that this will definitely be, without a question, objectively the best teams in the Sherman era, without a doubt. Which
100%.
isn't saying much considering they've lost 90 games every single fucking year.
Language.
But
I
I think they avoid losing 90 games this year, Duke. So definitely, and we'll do the ball together.
Regardless, I'll be watching. But I was thinking more so, not even for the guys like you said that know how to hit. I was thinking for the guys that you draft, the berries, the guys that you bring in and you try to develop the kind of, put your organization in a good spot for years to come, not just for this year, not for next year, but for years with the guys you draft, right? Because I think like in my time playing football, I've been around a lot of coaches that was able to kind of bring the best out of kids, but I also been around coaches that did absolutely nothing, and it was like you said, it was just the guy, right? So I was just thinking more so for like you said, the JJ Blades, the Dela Cruz, the guys that can do it, but just have to figure out how to get them to do it. Like I really to be fair, I really want us to keep Laneway. Just because he's a great defender.
Mm-hmm.
You are checking all the boxes for my fan.
We're about to hire
my
you
fan
right
club.
now.
Yeah, I was hoping we kept him just so we could, hopefully, like you said, the coach that they brought in can kind of give him some kind of tips, kind of work with him one-on-one, and kind of get him to just put the ball in play. Like just give me something, because he was so good on defense that just somebody you keep around. But yeah.
I was on the same page as you. That was my thought. I was certain they were going to hold on to him at least into the spring and just see what he looks like with a different voice in his head. So some of it is about the voice and the instruction. Some of it is about in the information. We were talking about this before the stream about how it is that analytics have come into baseball in a way where they just have so much information about every pitch that they can identify. They could tell you exactly where a pitcher wants to throw his pitches, and they could tell you that based on the angle of your swing, these are the pitches you should swing at. And I think one criticism of the Marlins is that they might actually be behind a lot of other teams when it comes to this, when it comes to actually using the right information and putting their guys in good matchups. And that maybe with, especially bringing over a couple coaches from the Dodgers organization, that they're on the other end of that, where they are at the forefront. They pick out the matchup details that put their hitters, that make it really simple for their hitters, but also like prepare them the right way. I was totally on the same page with you, with guys like Lewin and all the other young guys, that if it wasn't working last year, despite looking really promising in the minors, then maybe just give them a little bit longer with new coaches to work with, and they could take off.
And to answer your question, sorry, dude, I know. Go ahead.
No, you good. Go for it.
I'll just say that I don't think they have the guys in the minors anyway that bring out the best of their young players. Unfortunately, yet I think they have done some changes in the minors, in the lower minors, as well. So hopefully the next batch of Blades and Verdicts come up and do better. Because in the last 6 years, not one of their guys has come up and hit. Not one.
Man,
Single guy.
I forgot that it's a whole different staff.
Yeah.
From the majors to AAA, I forgot it was a whole different staff. I'm over here thinking that everyone is the same, and it's not. So
during spring training, during spring training,
doing spring training, which why I'm excited to go and see. So you can see everyone go against everybody just to see who sticks out and who, because you kind of tell who don't belong based off of that. So
yeah.
That's why I'm kind of excited to see that.
When you see Blade out there, you'll see he don't. I'm just kidding.
He's a big hater on Blade.
So like we were talking about Leyway, and we talk about how like the younger guys don't develop. But like the thing about Leyway is he had a skill set. He was a great defender. He's like Rudy Gobert in basketball.
Right.
Rudy sucks at offense. Rudy does not play offense, but he's a great defender.
He's a defensive player of the year, right?
Yeah.
And he plays. Just like Miggy. Miggy always had value because he was a elite defender at a position where you need someone to be great. But like you said, but my question would be like analytics. Y'all don't think analytics is a little too much? Because a lot of times when you grow up and you play baseball, the goal is to hit the ball. Like you don't have a lot of people teaching you and telling you all the extra. Because sometimes that can mess somebody up more than it can help them because you're thinking too much when you just be out there playing.
So on along those lines, when they're finally eliminating the shift, one of the things that bothered me was how much the analytics led to them placing the fielders in different positions and creating more outs, and it's just ruined the game. They're finally making it so that you have to have two guys on either side. So those hits up the middle will finally be back to hits up the middle.
Yeah, I played baseball my entire life, and for a whole time, a line drive up the middle is always a hit. It would always be a hit, and now all of a sudden, you smash a ball 100 miles an hour off
right there.
Like 3 defenders behind second base just waiting for it. So I'm happy.
Yeah, just everything there. I think the other thing you mentioned, Miggy Rowe. Were you a fan of that trade there, getting the younger, almost a younger version of Miggy Rowe and Jacob Amaya? Because that was one of the bigger trades also.
Yeah. So like as a person, like you never want to see someone get traded, but if you're talking strictly business, Marlins, does it help us? Yes. Because from what I understand is you're getting a younger Miggy. And why not take a younger Miggy? You take a younger one that you can hopefully, like y'all said, get with the coaches and kind of work on his bat if his bat isn't that good, while at the same time he has great defense. So
he's a younger Miggy with more, I think, with better bat, I would say. And Isaac could get more into Amaya because he.
Wait, so why did they make that trade? Why did was he never gonna play out there with the Dodgers?
I think, go ahead, Eli.
I just want you to be fair to Miggy, especially this past year. He was like the best defensively. So I think it's too much to expect Amaya to like be that exact type of player on that side of the ball. Maybe he's better hitting wise, but this is kind of the balance here with the Dodgers. I think from there, I think they just really love Miggy's defense, and they're the kind of team where they have so many other hitters that they can count on in different spots that there's less pressure on Miggy. Whereas with the Marlins, he was playing every single day. He was starting every day. That wasn't fair to him. That wasn't like that put him in. That was asking too much of him. So with the Dodgers, because this is what happens when you have a really good surrounding cast, is that it takes the pressure off of him and he fits in really well.
Yeah, and off the field, I think that relationship sort of ran its course in a way. I think Miggy was ready to move on, and the Marlins are ready to move on from him. But you're right, the defense at short will never be replicated. Not by Amaya, maybe by another shortstop prospect in Nasim Nunez eventually. But you're right, that they will miss a defense at short and first this season.
Yeah, and you look at him going to Dodgers. He just signed a contract extension now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Even with I believe had an injured wrist, he got 2 years, $11 million from the Dodgers. And with the Dodgers, they're able to spend that money. They went almost penny and just getting barely over $100 million, and The Dodgers are willing to spend that money. They can't spend that money, and it's just different for different teams there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and there's no way you can even the balance field, like the playing field. There's no way that it can ever really be balanced, right? So
Unless you
bad
institute a
teams
hard
have to
cap,
find.
but
yeah,
I'm saying, but bad teams have to find a different way to
be good.
yeah, but outside of paying, like us, like we have to trade pitchers, we have to draft well. Hopefully, we can develop them, and I think that's why important coaching staff is a good coaching staff is important because you're not gonna spend no money, so it's all gonna be your young guys and trying to develop them and get them up to par as quickly as possible.
Right. Well, I mean, some examples like the Tampa Bay Rays and the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah,
their
that's
teams
exactly what I was going to say.
They don't spend a lot of money, but they're just extremely intelligent when it comes to running their ball club, whether they're extremely analytically driven like the Rays are, and they go to the playoffs almost every single year, or they develop every single person that comes to their system like the Guardians do. Miami just hasn't really topped that yet, but hopefully they will. It's only year 6, I guess.
I'm still convinced that the Rays have like one of the biggest supercomputers on the planet buried beneath Tropicana Field.
Yeah, what the former president told us that the Marlins, they have maybe an analytics department of maybe 5 to 10 guys. The Rays have 40 guys in their analytics department, so you're really not going to compete in that department anyway with the genius team like the Rays. That's why I try
especially when you make a trade with the Rays. I mean, if you're making a trade with the Rays, you're
probably losing.
Yeah, you're probably gonna lose. So.
And the Rays make less money than the Marlins, and they spend less money than the Marlins. So
less fan attendance too, I believe.
And I believe, they're at I think with us in Oakland and teams like that. You mentioned teams that spend the least. I want to go ahead and talk about teams that spend the most because 3 of them are in our division. And we mentioned losing 90 games. You're going to have to face these teams a lot of times. I know now you're going to face every single team in the league, in the American and National League. So we're going to get games against the Yankees. We have the Dodgers. We have all that. Shout out John Rodriguez.
Love it.
Fan, guest of the stream, first-time Jeopardy champ, also John Rodriguez. But what do you guys also expect from the division? Because this is going to probably be the hardest it's going to be in a long time because it seems like every team is out there spending money. The Nats are obviously rebuilding, but those are some really good young pieces that they have also. I'll have to give insight from all of you, just the division and just how it's shaping up now for the Marlins.
One word: stress.
It's getting tough. I mean, you look at teams like the Mets, who just you lose Jacob deGrom, but you bring in Justin Verlander, who just won the Cy Young unanimously. You look at the Phillies, you lost Bryce Harper for a couple months. You're bringing in Trey Turner, who's arguably one of the best shortstops in Major League Baseball. You look at the Braves; they brought in Sean Murphy now to be their long-term catcher. These teams are just getting better and better and better. Miami did get better, but not enough to, I believe, compete with teams at least like the Mets and the Braves. I think they could put up a fight with the Phillies every once in a while. That's the team you feel good about. Even the Nationals made some pretty okay moves. They brought Jaime Candelario. They made some other moves.
The biggest move was in the trade deadline.
They're going to be horrible, Kevin. They're
going to be horrible, but I'm saying they made moves too.
They're going to lose 110 games.
Yeah, they'll lose over 100.
They brought Jaime Candelario.
Your pitching staff is pretty good, I will say. I looked at the Nats pitching staff.
That was funny.
Yeah, and we mentioned the Mets. Duke, opening day against the Mets. How are you feeling about that? We're going to have Verlander most likely going up against Sandy. 2 Cy Young Award winners. Are you looking forward to that game?
Are you down to split a suite? Let's go together.
Oh, no. I definitely got Sandy. Sandy is like pretty sure with y'all too. It's like my happy place. When he's pitching, I'm okay. Like I'm not worried. I'm not concerned. I'm laid back. I'm having a good time just watching because even when he get himself into trouble, he finds a way to get out.
Yeah.
So there's never a point in the game when I'm watching where I'm just like, it's gonna get ugly. So as long as Sandy's pitching, but again, I think because a guy I forgot about earlier is Trevor Rogers. That's one guy that last year, not last year, but the year before was great, but had a down year. And I think top to bottom, our rotation is great. It's just being a dead horse. We have to develop bats. We have to find whatever that is. And again, the top bat lineup 1 through 4 would be who in y'all opinion?
I think it would be very
Jazz.
bad. It would be Luis Ariz, Gene Segura, Jazz Chisholm Jr., and whoever you want to clean up, whether it's Soler, Garcia, or Cooper. I think that would be the opening day lineup.
De La Cruz.
And De La Cruz. Hey, that's what I like to hear. What yeah, so like the two, and I seen like recently a lot of fans was upset about us not spending money, but we spent money last year on 2 guys and they both end up hurt, right?
Yeah.
Bounce back year, yes. Bounce back year, you believe?
Yeah.
I think for sure for Avisa Garcia, it's going to be a huge bounce.
He's another guy that lost a lot of weight. You can see there really slimmed down.
Yeah, he around halfway through last season when he was again on the IL, he completely changed his workout routines, his eating habits, and just everything about his game. And he started to show promise near the end of the season. Of course, he got injured again, but I think he's going to have a really, really good season.
Why is John Jay cut off?
Yeah, why'd you cut off John Jay in this picture?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, you want the mom, bro.
No, I can't remember why. I think it was I was cropping it for the site, and I didn't think I don't know. That's a good question.
He's a coach on the team, and then he brought them to the game.
Question. Hey, that was a big win the other day. Shout out to the Canes basketball team.
My neighbors are going. I was like, that's better than Duke nowadays, huh?
That was crazy.
Yeah, there's one other thing I wanted to talk to Duke about, and that goes to John Jay. John Jay is the guy he's going to try to turn Jazz into a center fielder. And do I have this right? You played center field a little bit when you were growing up. How crazy do you think it is that Jazz, he's never played center field in his life? He's always been an infielder. That now, like in the middle of his major league career, he's trying to learn it for the first time.
He got confidence, so I guess that goes a long way with being confident, being out there. But it's Jazz. Like if it's one guy on our team that I say we can move anywhere and he would figure out how to do it, it probably would be him.
Yeah,
I think it's. I don't know. I've like what I will say is like as a center fielder, I couldn't go and play shortstop a second.
Yep.
Like I couldn't do it, but I think it's easier to go out than it is for them to come in.
I totally agree.
So I think he'd be all right.
I think the one thing I worry about is his feel for the warning track and the wall. He's gonna have to learn, and it changes every city you go to. It's a different dimensions and everything. So he's got to be careful not to crash into the wall and try not to over exert himself to make a spectacular play against the wall that might jeopardize his season.
Yeah, I'm not saying this because how I feel, but Blade had a lot of issues with the wall defensively this year in center.
A lot of these guys did.
Brian Anderson broke his finger grabbing onto that screen in right field when he went from third base to right field. So that is a good point because he's
screen in right field is stupid.
I don't like that either.
I was gonna ask over or under how many times Jazz hit the wall.
Oh,
he's definitely gonna hit that wall.
Depends how many wall balls the pitchers allow. So hopefully not too many. Hopefully they stay before the wall. Guys, question I have here. You mentioned Jazz's confidence. Is there ever a situation where too much confidence could be an issue for a player, especially a young player that he's established but not, we
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. So he's a guy, but he hasn't really been the guy that we all know he can be. Too much confidence, it depends. It depends on your work ethic. So like if you're a guy that's confident, you're more confident in work, it'll hurt you.
Yeah.
But if you're more work than confident, like if he's more work than confident, you don't have nothing to worry about because you have a lot of confidence. But if he works twice as hard, he'll be fine.
Right. Yeah, and by all accounts, Jazz seems like someone that works extremely hard. And
so no, it's only with the ones that's super confident but really don't work.
Yeah.
The ones you have to be worried about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with that, before we end it, you wanted to go, I don't know if it's a rant or talk a little bit about Marlins Twitter. Just because you just got in the whole Marlins Twitter sphere, and now you're willing to get into it. What are your thoughts overall? I'll let you have the floor.
Also, who's your favorite follow? Before you answer that question, your favorite Marlins Twitter besides Fish Stripes?
Favorite follow. Craig don't count either. So I actually have most of you, well, really all you guys, and like I have tabs on Twitter, and I have y'all all in my Marlins tab. So it's all one wall. So it's really everybody. So like I really have. I don't know if y'all can see it.
Oh my god!
Like Marlins.
Yeah, he's got lists.
Yeah.
Hold
Look at
up a second.
list.
Put that up one more time so people can see it real well.
Right there, more.
Look at Craig.
Craig.
Craig is on it.
Right. So I have that. So I kind of follow everybody, and it's very informational. It's a lot of, for my first off season as a Marlin fan that's really been paying attention. It's very negative, very all the time, and I'm trying to figure out why. I'm not trying to figure out why, because one of my friends told me why. Just talks about how every time we get a good piece or we have a good person, a good player, we trade them. And, that was before I was really locked in and really paying attention. But now I'm paying attention, and it's going to be different. You know what I mean? I feel like it's going to be different this year. And I feel like it's going to be moving forward, new staff, new everything. I feel like it's going to be different starting this year.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this year is going to be different. And like you said, we lost 90 games a year. So how different? It's going to be a big change. I think we're going to do well, especially if we can keep our pitchers healthy, which has been a struggle.
Yeah.
Someone always which is part of the position, right? Someone always goes down. That's why you have backups. But yeah, I think if for the most part we can stay fairly healthy pitching wise, I think we'll be fine. I think De La Cruz has a bounce back year. De La Cruz.
You're making my day.
Before we get into prediction time, do you have a bold prediction this season for the Marlins? Something you're gonna go out for? Your bold prediction?
Oh boy.
I'm gonna go top 2 in the division.
Oh.
Okay, I guess yeah.
Which other of the who's in first place and who's third and fourth in that scenario?
Braves is first, unfortunately, but really nothing we can do.
Yeah.
Is the Braves.
Philly's third.
The Mets fourth.
The Mets would be the Mets.
Ooh.
The Mets.
By the way, I
can see it happening.
I totally am in for a Mets panic year.
I was gonna say, Duke agrees with me. You're relying on 2 40-year-old guys to anchor your rotation.
But one of them is pretty damn good.
My dad might pop a vein, but
yeah, but they every time I look up in top 5 or top 10 starting pitching on the team, the Marlins are no one ever to be found, and I'd be so confused on why.
Yeah, I agree.
Even experts mess up sometimes.
Undervalue us.
Yeah, but yeah, and that's even with the Cy Young winner is still not top 5.
Fifth. They put him 5th in the rankings, I believe.
Terrible.
Yeah. A lot of it comes down. People don't trust him to repeat what he did last year. It's a short list of guys that have a year like he had and then do it again the next year. They stay healthy and do the same quality. If he does it, he's going to be one of the greats. He's going to make his case for the best pitcher the team's ever had. If he does it.
How old is Sandy?
He is
27.
27. And the pitcher in the New York is what?
Which one?
Verlander.
Pick one.
He's like 65.
Verlander's like 40, right? He's 40.
Verlander's 42, if I'm not mistaken.
He's 42, and he's getting
39.
Oh, yeah.
Fine. Same thing.
40.
39, 42. Close enough. And he's getting more leeway than the Cy Young winner that's 27.
Right. Well, I think the argument is that Justin Verlander's a first ballot Hall of Famer that's been doing it every single year. Sandy is still sort of new to
Yeah, I feel that, but my guy JJ Watt I feel like he's a first ballot Hall of Famer too, but
Yeah, it's a good
age
point.
catches up with you. Like regardless of what's your status then is about now. And
Right. Yeah. Well, Justin Verlander won the Cy Young last year, as a matter of fact. Actually.
Yeah,
how unfortunate.
Verlander will kind of be like
Not-
the
Perfect time to go in a decline.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. He's gonna give up
Perfect
four-
time.
He'll give up 4 runs on opening day.
But the thing
like
is,
it.
will the Marlins score? Could the Marlins score 4 runs?
Can they even score 3, man?
Oh my God. Then we just list 3 people that can score a run. The top 3. Y'all
Those guys
listed
do
3
it.
people. And you gave me 2 more guys that's supposed to have a bounce back.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
guys.
So that's
The math,
5.
the
Five.
math adds up.
Right? The math?
5 runs?
Yeah. Who needs Bryce Harper and Trey Turner?
They're so last season.
We have
So-
Jacob Maya.
I think with that, it's a perfect time to go into prediction time. So for this, we're gonna go do something a little special. It is Super Bowl week. Super Bowl's in a couple days. So with this prediction, I'm gonna ask all of you for who wins the Super Bowl and your MVP.
Whatever Duke says is what I'm putting $100 on. Just FYI. I don't know.
So
So
let me
No pressure.
Let me just get this ready.
This is prediction time.
It's time.
who's the favorite anyway? Philadelphia.
It's time.
So
Probably
let's-
Philly.
Philly.
Probably Philly is probably favorite because they're the most talented team.
Yep.
Like from top to bottom, they're the most talented, right? But I
Barely.
don't know. It's kind of like when I played football down in Miami, in high school. It was a guy named Teddy Bridgewater
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
that
Teddy.
you didn't bet against, regardless of who he was playing, regardless of the odds. You never bet against Teddy, and that's kind of how I feel with Mahomes right now. Like you don't bet against Mahomes, but the Eagles are just a great team, top to bottom. Like from kicker to quarterback, they're the best. Like their
Punters are
team is
people too.
yeah. punch on
They're
the
just the
ball.
most complete team. Yeah.
They're the most complete team, and yeah. So with that being said, it's so tough. It's so tough. I may have to go Eagles, but the Chiefs have Travis Kelce, and no one can seem to stop him. And he's one man. It's one man on the field, and no one can stop him. But I'm gonna go Eagles. Let's go Eagles. My prediction
All
is
right, my Eagles fly.
Okay.
And I have a prop really quick. I want to ask you, Duke. Over under 1.5 TikToks recorded by Jackson Mahomes during the Super Bowl.
over. Easily.
Over.
Over. Easily. It's not even close. It's
No,
not
that's
even
a-
close either.
It's on the. I'm gonna put over, bro.
Is it
It's
actually a
Actually,
thing?
that's
Yes,
actually a
It's
prop.
I swear to God, it's a prop on Nevada. Over under 1.5.
Smash the over. Smash
Over.
the over.
What if Jackson Mahomes puts down 10,000 on that and just posts 2 TikTok? That's a terrible thing to have on a betting website.
He'll do one. He'll do one at halftime with Rihanna's playing, and then Pat Mahomes, if they have the lead in the fourth quarter, you'll definitely see
thinking-
another one
I was thinking pregame
Yeah.
and halftime.
for sure.
And if they win,
Oh,
That's
Oh
like
my! If they
7.
win, you're getting
there,
10
look.
in an hour.
How many
Oh my
TikTok
God,
videos
that's
did Jackson
not
Mahomes
much.
post during the Super Bowl?
The over is favored?
And
No,
it's-
the under is favored.
The under.
the under's favorite. I've been
Dude, smash the yeah, it is the easiest.
the
over.
under's probably favorite because he's gotten so much backlash
Yeah.
about doing stuff, so he's probably trying to stay. They think he's gonna stay quiet, but
Nah.
There's some crazy props on here. Like how many times will Roger Goodell be shown? How many cheeseburgers will what's his name? The Chiefs
Super Bowl
coach?
props are the best.
They're the best, bro.
So let's go next on predictions. Isaac, you have a prediction for the Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl, the game, and MVP?
ooh, MVP.
And for MVP for the game.
Yeah.
All right, Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts. I'm not a football guy, man.
That's not a bad
Yes.
pick, though. I'm
That's
gonna
not
go
bad.
take Philly. I'm gonna
You're
take
gonna take
Philly,
Philly?
and my MVP pick will be Miles Saunders.
Oh,
Ooh.
okay. Noah?
You have a nice guy.
Chiefs, Travis Kelsey.
Oh,
Boo.
that's a good one. That's a good one. Eli?
He can't stop.
I have the Chiefs winning, and I'm also doing the some love for the running backs. Isaiah Pacheco, MVP.
That's a good
Pacheco.
Ooh.
Couple touchdowns.
Dominican.
For Pacheco.
Dominican.
All right, I'm
He's
gonna
Dominican.
go. I hate going against
Daniel,
Pat
before you go,
Mahomes.
we never got Duke's MVP.
Oh yeah, Duke, you're MVP. Who do you think is going to be MVP
My
of the Super Bowl?
MVP. I'm gonna go AJ Brown.
That's a good pick.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Hmm.
All right.
I like it.
So for my, it's hard to mention. You mentioned going against Pat Mahomes. I think the Eagles really are the best team, just offensively, defensively. I'm gonna go Eagles and MVP. Let's go Hassan Reddick. Yeah, I think he had like 16, 20 sacks this season. Whole bunch of
Dude,
forced
that guy-
fumbles.
A defensive MVP.
Everyone
in the
thinks
Super
all these
That is the-
offensive players and the quarterbacks, but I think defense is gonna get it done.
Nah, that's a good
Bowl. I
one.
like it.
I like
I
that
like
one.
it.
I'm
That was
taking the
dope.
under now.
Some good defenses too. Offenses are great, but their defense really nice.
100%. Yeah.
So with that, I think that's going to be the end of the stream. Duke, we want to thank you so much. You're welcome anytime. If you want to cover a game, credentials, you're welcome back. We got you.
I appreciate y'all.
Officially a member.
Appreciate y'all. Definitely want to see y'all down if we all go to spring training. If I'm ever there with one of y'all, just check in just to see. But definitely want to hang out.
Yeah, we'll
Oh,
be there
100%.
almost every day for spring training.
And I may also I'm going to the first game, but I may be getting a suite. So
Holler at me, brother. We'll
yeah, we'll
Come
be there.
visit.
we'll fuck
I
shit up.
got
Language, Isaac.
you.
All right, before anything bad happens to kick us out of YouTube, for myself, Daniel, for Eli, Noah, Kevin, Isaac, legend, NFL running back, Mr. Duke Johnson, this is Fish Stripes Live. Have a great week.